I'm Corbett Wall with DV Auction, here with your feeder flash for Tuesday, July the 25th, brought to you in part by Bovalus Vision. Clostridial vaccines that spur cattle forward and never backward. The proprietary spur adjuvant that boosts vaccine performance while causing fewer reactions and reducing stress. Plus, every time you buy a bottle of it, it enters you into a monthly drawing for a custom-made Greeley cowboy hat. For more information, go to poweredbyspur with the hyphens in between.com. Also, Beaver County Stockyards, no sale here today on Tuesday. They've had a lot of moisture in the Oklahoma Panhandle there, muddy conditions, and they've also had a death in the sale barn crew family there. A lot of people wanted to go to the funeral, and it's here on Tuesday, so they've decided just to postpone the sale this week until next week. Weathering the report and the heat. Of course, we had a cattle on feed report that was extremely bearish, with the placements being a whole lot more than what we'd ever dreamed they might be. Also had a mid-year cattle inventory report, but the response from the board, it was sizable, but maybe not as bad as what we thought it might be. Feeders were down big, but of course your corn was up big also, so that could be blamed for most of it. And your live cattle futures were down quite a bit, but you know, they're always pretty volatile. But maybe it wasn't as bad as what we thought that it might be, because everybody involved knows that if the placements were big in June, that just leaves fewer replacements for the rest of the year. And we know that they're going to be extremely light coming up. We've got to see it on the report. So I assume that they will catch up. Hope they don't just put out a correction on this last report and it gets mostly unnoticed, but it's got to be extremely light here going through the rest of the year. Also, I mentioned the heat, extremely hot conditions. You know, it's been hot through the southern tier here for the last few weeks, the summer, but that heat is moving up into the mid section of the country, going to be going across the Corn Belt. Over 100-degree temperatures moving across there. In some cases, maybe 104, 105, which is extremely hot. But I lived up in that country for 16 years. When it gets really hot like that, it stirs up some storms and might get a little more rain in that country. And as this corn is silking and you know, it can use that heat, it could sure use some more rain. It might turn out to be good in hindsight after we get through it, but you know, hot temperatures like this where it's dry, it really is punishing on that corn. But we'll just have to see how it goes through the rest of the week here. But we know that 2024 supplies of cattle of all classes are going to be much lighter than what they've been in 2023. There's been no rebuilding. Our calf crop is going to be smaller. Our cow herd is smaller. Everything is extremely light. We're going to see high prices completely through 2024. How much further it goes beyond that, we don't know. We know they're going to take that market away from us before they should, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen in 2024. Might be all the way to 2026 before we see these prices come down, but we're at all-time record high prices for almost every class of cattle right now. Flint Hills cattle are moving in a big way. Those cattle are just out there for 90 days. They're coming off here in late July, and I stole these pictures here from my friend Wes Spinks, who is delivering cattle out there. Lots of cattle moving out of the Flint Hills right now. A few of them will drag on into August, but those are people that actually own the country out there. But all the lease ground, they'll be pretty much cleaned up here before the end of the month. I'm hoping and planning on going out to the Flint Hills around Cottonwood Falls this week to my old buddy, the Godfather, Jimmy Craig, who's probably shipped more cattle out of the Flint Hills than any person in existence, but he's invited me to come up and attend one of his shipments. Planning on doing that on Thursday. I'll have some pictures, some stories, and hopefully some video to share with you on that. But these cattle are weighing heavy coming off the Flint Hills there. It got a little bit dry There was enough moisture out there to grow plenty of grass just for the 90-day grazing period, and then it dried up and that grass cured. It doesn't go right through them. It sticks to them. Cattle are weighing heavy for the most part coming off the Flint Hills so far this year. Let's talk about your board. On Monday, August live cattle futures down $1.27, but it sure could have been worse at 178.75. October down $1.60 at 180.30. All your back months going forward, for the most part, except for December, we're all up, but they range from down 85 to up as much as $1.82. Like I said, because everybody knows that it's going to be extremely tight placements going forward here. They can't have it all their way all the time, but a little mixed on that. Feeder cattle were down big. Of course, corn was up big, but August feeder cattle down 267 at 243.25. September down 265 at 246.62, which is still awfully high, guys. Then your back months were all down big, from as little as 32 to as much as down 232. December new crop corn up 32 cents to start the week at 568.25. We were nearly $1 lower than this just a couple of weeks ago. And your beans for November new crop up 22.75 cents at 1424.5. Kansas City hard red winter wheat for September up 58.25 cents. My gosh, guys, hope they didn't all sell it when they harvested it there, because I mean, it is just going to the moon. But at the end of regular trading, 918.5 for hard red winter wheat. Your fat cattle, your weighted average for last week's negotiated fed cattle trade out of your five area feeding region on a negotiated basis, direct, was 74,800 head, which is not big, but it's a lot bigger than that meager performance that they put on last week, where the Southern Plains didn't really trade anything. But that 74,800 compares to 52,100 the prior week and 58,400 the same week a year ago. Live sales out of your five area feeding region, steers and heifers sell from 179 to 190, 150. You talk about a big spread there, guys. That's 2 to 4 higher in most places there. But there was only 33 head that traded down at the 179. Now the Southern Plains traded at 180, which was mostly $2 higher. But the Northern Plains, they sold a lot higher than that, from 184 to 190. And like I said, we had some at 190, 150. There was 750 head that traded higher than 190, which is pretty impressive there, guys. Weighted average on live steers, 186.19. That was $1.92 higher than the weighted average from the previous week. Dress sales, $2.90 to $3. That's $3 to $5 higher. Gained some pretty good ground last week, guys, after that no trade for the most part prior week there. But 729 head traded at $2.90. 238 head traded at $3. We didn't even really know about the $3 till it all come in for the roundup for the week. 295 and maybe some 296 in places was your practical top there on a dress basis. But like I said, $5 higher there on the top end. And your weighted average on dress steers in your five area last week was 294.72, up $3.38 for the week. Pretty impressive gains there. Nationwide negotiated, we sold 86,700 head compared to 64,500 the previous week and 69,000 same week a year ago. Of that 86,700 this past week, 20,900, or about 24% of those were for the 15 to 30 day delivery. That's not big. It's always running about close in there, about 25%. But we had negotiated grid sales. They continue to keep growing, and like I said, for the most part, other than your fed cattle exchange, we don't see much negotiation on the negotiated grid. But 56,600 sold that way last week. Forward contracting was only 24,200, and formula sales last week, 278,800 head. That's our problem, guys. Too many formula pricing there without really having any price discovery there. Of your 4 out of 5 areas that we get information from, Iowa sold 31,100 last week. Nebraska 24,200. Kansas just 13,400. In Texas only 6,100, but that's light but extremely higher than the previous week, which we didn't see hardly any trade at all out of the Southern Plains. Box beef cutout values, weren't able to give you the weekly on our previous feeder flash, but the weekly weighted average on all of last week's sales, choice cuts, the weighted average was 304.07, down 588 from the previous week's weighted average. Selects was down 414 at 275.95, but maybe we've hit a bottom, and seasonally we should be hitting a bottom about now, and your box beef cutout values should start coming back up a little bit, or at least finding some footing here. On Monday, box beef cutout values on choice up $1.42 at 304.16. A lot of staying pressure right there around the $300 area on choice. Selects up 26 cents at 276.99. Your slaughter 126,000 for Monday. That's a big Monday starting out. Last week they adjusted it down. Our last week cattle slaughter was only 624,000, and not looking for much more than that this week. Packers have got to be getting short of product, guys. Talk about what else is going on. Night Latch Group, Andy Cunningham there in Western Oklahoma, wants you to hang on to your investment, especially through gross margin policies that he's kind of figured out, where you can hedge the risk on your feed and your cattle at the same time on cattle in the feedlot, guys. He can also offer you LRPs, crop insurance, and everything else there, but check him out at nightlatch.net. Talk about your feeder cattle market, your real-time index on DV auction, based on an average of an 800-pound cash auction steer up through your middle 12 states, 241.12 at the end of Monday's trade, and that was up 16 cents from the closing of last week. And we had some lower markets, but we also had some higher markets, and the market's really good, guys. But we'll give you some big markets here in a minute. Elite Livestock Sales, that's the guys out of Montgomery Stockyards, Montgomery, Alabama. Elite Livestock Sales is having a big sale this Thursday. It's their Black Belt Classic, Thursday the 27th out of Demopolis, Alabama. They're going to have a good run of cattle there. And they're having 2 World's Champs sell. Jacob Massey, the newly crowned World Champion Livestock Auctioneer, and then of course our buddy Chuck Bradley that sells all the sales there at Elite. They're both going to be behind the mic. They've got more than 70 loads of cattle sold in load lots going to be on Elite Livestock Sales on Thursday the 27th at 3 o'clock Central on dvauction.com, guys. Don't miss it. Talking about your big sales on Monday, Oklahoma National Stockyards in Oklahoma City had 6,700 head. Feeder steers were steady to $4 lower. Most of the decline was on those weighing over 800 pounds. Feeder heifers were steady to $2 lower. Steer calves $5 to $10 lower. Heifer calves $4 to $8 lower. A lot of those calves coming in unweaned, and it's extremely hot and humid because they've had some moisture there in Oklahoma. Not many people in that part of the country really anxious to get a hold of some balling calves in this kind of weather, guys. Joplin Regional Stockyards, 4,800 head, steady to $5 higher on most all classes there. They were also your national beef wire stick out sale of the day. Look at your best tested weights out of Joplin Regional Stockyards in Carthage, Missouri. 519 head of 5-weight steers, average 555 pounds. Weighted average price $253.04. 617 head of 6 weights, average 650 pounds right on the button. Weighted average price $253.80. 571 head of 7-weight steers in Joplin, average 747. Average price $239.11. Look at some heifers. 480 head of 5-weight heifers, average $552 with a weighted average price of $236.91. and 406 head of 6-weight heifers, average 647, average price 234.06. Give you some individual quotes from all around the country. How about Sioux Falls Regional Livestock, Worthing, South Dakota, DV auction broadcaster there. 60 head of 1,000-pound steers bring $233.75. Not too hard to figure out what those bring per head, guys. How about Callaway Livestock Center in Kingdom City, Missouri? They sell 54 head of 600-pound steers at $287. But the most impressive quote that I saw anywhere on Monday, your Mackerson, no BS, top quote from the day, come out of Tina Livestock in Northwest Missouri. My friend Dwayne Penny, he professionally purchased and professionally sold his brother-in-law Daryl Flick's cattle. There was 104 head of them, weighed 810 pounds, bring $255.25. And that's your feeder flash for Tuesday.